Hello, everyone, and welcome to day one of the new LaVilla Fundraising School. I'm Dr. V. Brooks Dunbar. I am the founder and lead coach at the Center for Confidence. I am the investor and developer for the new LaVilla here in Jacksonville, Florida. Behind me, you can see our future rendering of the new LaVilla. And in the coming days, I will be posting our updated and approved renderings from the city of Jacksonville to move forward with this, renovating this 6,000 plus historic landmark in Jacksonville, Florida, in the area once known as La Villa, our historic Black Main Street. I wanted to start this fundraising series because I realized something that was very important, and that was that fundraising and anyone who has experience in fundraising, especially in my case with more than 10 years of experience and a 50% plus success rate, that I should support and share my knowledge and my expertise with everyone else out there who is trying to raise and generate funds. This crowdfunding space is new for me. And so this is also a great opportunity to share the journey of raising for the new LaVilla. Currently, we have a $500,000 fundraising campaign that we are slowly launching this month. And this will support a $2 million raise with a capital stack that will involve lending as well as some bank lending, financial lenders, traditional lenders, as well as some hard money lenders. When it comes to fundraising, I want to start the conversation around how do you frame out and get ready to prepare for a successful raise. So I will go ahead and share my slides. And we will get started. Okay. And so this series will run every Tuesday. I am committed to running this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. from August 11th, today, through December 29th. And that is in alignment with our $500,000 raise for the new LaVilla. The purpose of these webinars will be to help other current individuals who are involved in raises or future fundraisers to break down and talk about the fundamentals of fundraising and any challenges that they are experiencing in real time. We'll go through topics and things to, consider and think about when fundraising, including, storytelling and the psychology of giving, the psychology behind how donors think, what is compelling to donors, the different types of donors, understanding how to leverage strong and powerful and consistent email campaigns. We'll talk about capital campaigns. These are campaigns that are similar to mine, which are brick and mortar campaigns, although my raise is not to raise a building, it is to develop an existing building. And we are going through the crowdfunding type of raise versus more traditional capital campaigns where individual donors and corporations support those campaigns. Examples of those are when you see buildings with individuals' names on them. Those were likely part of a capital campaign where an individual gave a significant amount of money to have their name on that building. We'll talk about major gifts. Donors like that would fall into the category of major gifts. These are not your individual everyday small donations that come in from individuals. These that come in from the community and individuals in general. These are individuals who have significant wealth who contribute to your campaign. And then you have crowdfunding, which since the Jobs Act has become a reliable method for many to raise funds. So we'll talk about that because it also has its downsides as well, as I'm learning and I'm going to share. You have your peer-to-peer fundraising, which falls in with the traditional fundraising types where you have a campaign committee of community leaders or individuals who are raising, but also share your information on their pages and continue to raise as secondary raisers, I would call them. And then, of course, you have sponsorships coming in from individuals who want to simply become a sponsor or support a particular part of the raise, or to continuously become a ongoing sponsor as long as the campaign is active or even after the campaign is active. And of course, grant writing, which is how I initially got into fundraising. And, my success, I do believe, had everything to do with the fact that I have a journalism background and a marketing background. And so that background definitely made a difference in how I wrote proposals, as well as how I positioned and framed out the need. So you have, the typical format for writing a proposal. There's a need statement, and the need statement is what kind of case are you going to make that will make your project stand out above other projects. Hello, Detrick. I'm going to walk through this brief slide deck, and then if you have any particular questions that you want to present to me, please put those in the chat, and I'll circle back around once we start having a conversation about the type of race that you're in, and I'm more than happy to give you any insights or advice based on my experience. Welcome.
Sure thing. Thank
And
you.
so you're very welcome. And so grant writing is very important for nonprofits and traditional organizations that raise. Very lately, and I used to say in the past, when business owners would ask me if there were grants available for them, I would say absolutely not. You're a for-profit business, and your revenue is tied to if individuals feel that you have a service or a product that they want to purchase. So businesses are competitive entities who are not typically traditionally grant writing or grant recipients. But since COVID-19, that has changed tremendously. Now, for-profit organizations who are carved out as those that are underserved or have a high risk of failure due to external circumstances beyond their control are now receiving grants. Social media fundraising has come along with, of course, social media, online platforms, and there are many campaigns that are specifically centered around raising through social media platforms. Every year, I believe it was Amazon that used to have a online fundraising campaign that every nonprofit could participate in. There are parameters to all of these fundraising campaigns, but those have become common, frequent fundraising activities that we see. And organizations should participate in those hands down. For the companies on the other side, these programs are marketing campaigns for them. So there's always a benefit on either side. So for the companies that are responsible and involved with these, it's really about collecting information and collecting email lists and building out their potential client market or portfolio of services. And so it's a win-win for everyone. Even though with so many people getting involved on social media, the chances of winning decrease as more people get involved, but still, you still want to have your nonprofit or your organization involved as a participant. Donor stewardship is something where I see organizations and nonprofits completely drop the ball, completely drop the ball on this. And so when I was working in university advancement, and so there are these words that you have to understand as well when you're working in the nonprofit sector. The word development officer, I was a development officer. I was an advancement officer. I was a grant writer and researcher. And understanding that these are some of the language that describes how organizations classify their fundraising team or identify their fundraising team, development officers, advancement officers, and then, grant writers are um, are pretty clear, but these are the names that are associated with different types of organizations and their teams. For um, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this workshop as well was that there's so much information out there now about grant writing, companies that help individuals to um, obtain grants and grant, you know, development services. Primarily now there's a huge uptick in those that work with for-profit businesses. And what I want everyone to understand is that grants, as with any other type of service or product or business or agency, nonprofits are just as competitive as for-profits. And so this is a very competitive space. Anytime an organization is putting information out that they're going to help you to uh, win grants, you want to think about that more broadly in terms of they can give you the baseline information as I'm giving you the baseline information, but the world of grants, of grant writing, of fundraising is extremely competitive. And that's when we get to making the case. How do you stand out? Timing is critically important. I remember when I was on the team with the American Red Cross, working with one of the team members there. And he said to me, the best time for us to raise is when there is a disaster. We bring in the most donations during critical times. And so whatever your organizational mission or strategy is around fundraising, you want to time that to when people are more than likely paying attention on a larger global scale, but also time it as well in terms of making sure you have the lead time to prepare. And so if hurricane season is coming, the American Red Cross knows that, they have time to prepare these critical campaigns, and they've been around long enough now to where it's automatic. Those donate advertisements, donate to the Red Cross, donate to this particular region, donate to this particular earthquake, hurricane fund, what have you. They just roll those out like clockwork. And that's regardless of if the need is that tremendous. It is their responsibility to ensure that there's an overabundance of giving so that the next time a crisis happens, that they have enough cushion in the bank, if you will, to support the next crisis. And so there are also different fundraising types. And so I want to talk about that as well. Okay, so this is our key slide that I want to work from. And I want to know if you are in an active campaign currently, or if you are thinking about having a fundraising campaign. So if you can put that in the chat, that'll help me to frame this out for you. But I would also like to know if you have any particular questions, go ahead and put that in the chat as well, or just ask me at any time during this presentation. Do you have any questions so far? Okay, so I will continue on. So there are numerous ways to raise, and how you raise depends on the organization type that you're in, the list that you have of current followers or current email lists and what have you, and the cause. What is it that you're raising for, and what is the case that you want to make for support. So, so for example, with the new LaVilla, our theme is centered around restoring our forgotten spaces, stopping the tear downs, reinvesting in our lost and abandoned main streets. And the cause specifically is to restore the new La Villa, starting to raise with just this one case study, and then using this case study to expand and build into other markets with additional forgotten main streets. So we've been talking to Boley, Oklahoma, for example, and Lexington community in Lexington, Kentucky, so that we can use this as a blueprint for success. And so it is so critical for us to hit our targets and to build this out with intention, but also to bring in as many people as possible so that we can hand this off as a template for other communities to make their case. Now, the case for support has several different lanes. This is an impact investment project, so we're looking at people who care about historic communities, who care about economic development, community development. So there are all these different themes. And what you want to do is align all these different themes with your potential client profile. And so you want to build out a profile of what kind of client, well, excuse me, I'm using the word client, but what kind of donor would appreciate this project based on this particular perspective. And so, for example, currently I'm looking at museums. And so museums have an abundance of donors who are interested in the history of LaVilla. And so I talk about the fact that this was a hotel, potentially one of the hotels that was in the Green Book, owned by a Black woman proprietress, and located in a city that was founded by former Union soldiers and freedmen. So for a person who loves, absolutely loves history, and I'm one of those people, that would be something that would pique their interest and would initially get them to sign up for the subscription newsletter or attend an event just to hear more. And that's all you're offering, is just for people to coalesce around you, just to hear more and to start to build out that community of common people that you think may have the highest probability of eventually wanting to give you financial support. And so that is the case. Another case for support is because this was a Black woman proprietress in the 1909, and I think she started the hotel, the Will Hotel, in 1920 something. But because this segment of entrepreneurs is the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in the US, then there's another case where you want to look at women who were entrepreneurs, business owners before the civil rights movement, around the time that Fannie Harvey, the proprietress, had her business, and who were also successful. And you want to tie that in with women today who are becoming entrepreneurs and who feel that there is an affinity to this project and an affinity to telling Fannie Harvey's story and an affinity to bringing back the new LaVilla, which will be an entrepreneurship center and co-working space. So those are the themes, the causes, the cases for support that you want to be very clear about so that you can tell your story and tell your story consistently, and then train your team around that. Any questions on that? May I ask what organization, if you're with an organization, what organization you're with? If you would put that in the chat, that would be great. Okay, so that is the first step. It's just understanding how to communicate out the messaging to potential investors and potential donors. Be very clear, crisp, and sharp. And I would recommend that if you're in a particular type of nonprofit space, say education, or if you work with animal welfare, or if you work with children, to look at the most successful organizations that are currently in your area, the most successful ones, meaning the ones that have the largest operating budget and the ones that are receiving the bulk of the grants and funding currently. That is your competitor. Again, this is a competitive space. And so you want to know where the money is currently going for the type of nonprofit or business or agency that you're working with, or cause that you're working with. I'm a member of the Jacksonville Jazz Society. And so with jazz, of course, people who have an affinity to music, but also there could be a history thread that goes through that, because Jacksonville was the hub of the Harlem of the South. And one of their fundraising initiatives is special events, memberships, and special events. But one opportunity that I think is wide open for them is building out an email list of the community, a community-wide email list where they can come back and develop the annual campaign. And I'll talk about that as well. So number 2 is, once you develop your theme, your cause, and theme, if I overlook that, the theme is a catchy, memorable phrase that goes with the campaign. Mine is the New LaVilla, bringing back a historic landmark. But I always say, the case for the New LaVilla, revitalizing the New LaVilla. But something that's more catchy could be the sub-tagline as well for that. And I use LaVilla because it is a destination. So I want it to be remembered as the destination. So for me, that theme is catchy. So choosing a fundraising team, developing that timeline, and merging the email list. Once you have your case for support, you want to think about and look at people who you know, or people who you are aware of, who have already shown an affinity to your cause, and who have the potential to lead your fundraising efforts as peer-to-peer fundraising, using their platforms, their pages, their connections to bring donors to you, or to help you to manage that campaign. And so just think about who that fundraising team could be. I will say that you want to have, in terms of the administrative side of it, at least a community builder, community manager, administrator, who will ensure that your messaging and your communication is consistent once you put forth a live campaign launch. And so there's work to do ahead of that. So you want to build the team first. That's the administrative team, but you also want to think within that administrative team, do you have peer-to-peer fundraisers that could potentially support you as well? You want to bring them all in as early as possible. And you want to pitch the case, the cause, and the need to them. They all have to be on board and in alignment. The other great thing is that they can also help you to start generating ideas around how you can develop the different fundraising levels and fundraising channels. So you may have the capacity to produce an event. Events are time consuming. But if not, then what about looking at a fee for service item? So for example, for the New LaVilla, because I have started this story around women entrepreneurs, I am also developing a blog called Lost Fortunes, Lasting Lessons. And with that blog, I have a Substack account where we're building the audience, telling the story, but eventually we want people to donate to that Substack page. There's the fee for service there is voluntary, because they can still continue to have it for free, but they can also donate to that page. The fee for service product is I will be developing merchandise. So I have the new LaVilla teas that we will start to sell. So there's a product there. But more specifically for the case for women and entrepreneurs, the Lost Fortune series will have its own specific product that speaks to women entrepreneurs. And so we're going to highlight all the people in that series, people such as Madam C.J. Walker, Annie Malone, who were Black women millionaires before the Civil Rights Movement. And we're going to put that into a apparel item that women would be interested in wearing. So we're excited about that. We just started working on that this week. And so the fundraising team is there. The timelines to roll everything out is absolutely critical. So for the new LaVilla, we started our campaign last May on a crowdfunding platform. And I really wanted to use a platform from another woman entrepreneur. And what we realized very early on was that we had not sold and communicated out our story. For one, we learned that Jacksonville, people really didn't know where it was. And so that within itself, if we're looking at a nationwide campaign, which we are, that within itself was something that we had to be very clear about, because apparently there's some other Jacksonvilles that we're talking about, Jacksonville, Florida. And so tying in to that, an anchor where James Weldon Johnson was born. The Harlem of the South, we also realized, was used by other cities in Florida. So what stood out was James Weldon Johnson. Lift Every Voice and Sing, Stanton High School. So how do you anchor the story in with something that's unique to that city? What we also are very fortunate to have happening right now in Jacksonville is the development of the Heritage Trail. So we're looking at how do we attach ourselves and anchor ourselves to that, because the Heritage Trail will wrap around the backside of the build around our project. So it will come around, if you see here, the front of the building where the floral arrangements are, the street there, it'll go around the back of the building and out on the other side where the Masonic Lodge is. And so we have a huge opportunity for street traffic and foot traffic to come to that building as they appreciate the Heritage Trail and the history of LaVilla. We are looking at having, because LaVilla was founded by Union soldiers, Buffalo soldiers is a general term, we're looking at putting a mural on that wall, and that's what we're excited to show very soon when we get the approvals from the City Commission, the Historic Commission, Downtown Development Board, DIA, everybody. There's a lot of lead work going into that, and that's something you want to be aware of as well. And so developing that timeline is critically important for when you want to build a community before you announce the launch, is what I learned. Build the community first. If you are looking to launch this year, and we're having a slow rollout for this fall, then May of last year was the time when we should have simply have been building the community versus launching a campaign without community. So however long you feel it will take for you to go all in on getting community involved, I would say best case scenario is a year. But you can also, if you have wonderful partners, can accelerate that. And so we are now looking at, okay, going into groups and organizations to talk about the project. But we should have done that last May versus launching and on the back end realizing we're spending so much time on communicating cause and the case for support that we don't have time. There isn't really a window, a comfortable space to make an ask. So you want that ask to be very natural, and you want that ask to be reflective, like reflective, like a reflex. Like, oh, we know about this project. We know who Dr. V is. We know LaVilla. Like, there's no education or learning to do anymore. This is a great project. It makes sense for me to donate or invest in this project. Once you start building that whole community out, you're merging those into an email list. And so that email list is going to be your best fundraising tool. That email list is your master fundraising tool, because all of your communication, all of your contacts, all of your activities, you want to make sure that you are constantly communicating out and putting information forward to that list of individuals who said they were interested in hearing about the project, learning about the project, and potentially supporting. So you can't go dark on them or have gaps in that communication. Once you start, you want to stay consistent about it. So, for example, with these fundraising webinars, that's part of the consistency that we're showing to get the word out about this current raise. Any questions on that? And I will say that a decent size list is going to be at least 5,000. And you want to build it from there. Okay. Okay. Texas State House, always fundraising, yes. Crowdfunding real estate projects. Okay, so I'll continue to talk about the new LaVilla and just go to a little bit more detail to help with that. Okay. And I'm a member of the Incremental Development Alliance. So one of the things that I started to do, because I was also new to, again, the crowdfunding, but also new to the commercial real estate investment category. You know, we invest in, you know, residential properties and homes, but the commercial real estate investment was new to me. And so Local Initiative Support Corporation had a development curriculum training program, but they were looking at individuals who had significant projects. And that's what I've learned as well, is that my project at 2 million is considered small. It's considered very small, that most of them would want to start at 5 million. And so when you're looking at commercial real estate development and donors who want to get involved with that, including banks and organizations, you want to see and know their profile, you know, their donor profile. And so you want to, again, build those out so that you're not wasting their time, and you can understand what is the best case position for support that you can put in front of them. And so the organizations that help with that, I wanted to make sure that we were connected in that way. I am not a member of Urban Land Institute, but I subscribe to Urban Land Institute information because the Jacksonville was designated as a supernova city in 2024, I believe it was. And so looking at other current and existing projects and going to those events where large developers also congregate is the learning ground, learning fields that you need to be part of as well. So I'm a member of Incremental Development Alliance, and Local Initiative Support Corporation just signed up for their newsletters just so I can see what was happening with this, you know, investment group. And then there was one more that is in Charlotte, I believe. Yes, Charlotte. And I almost I was thinking about just relocating to Charlotte just so I could take this, could be part of this training program because they were only looking for people in Charlotte. And and with that group, they were looking for small scale developers to train up. And that was a perfect fit for me. So if if there's a way, maybe we can collaborate and see if Charlotte can, uh, make their program virtual or portable. That would be amazing. One thing that I am doing as well, just to build the credibility of the project also, is to develop our own landowners group or committee in LaVilla. So currently there are three um, private property owners in LaVilla. My excuse me, four, because the Masonic Lodge is there, but I want to separate out those that are nonprofits versus those that are private individuals. And so for private owners, there are three of us that I'm aware of. And what I'm looking at doing is incorporating that association of small owners and developers in LaVilla so that we can have a collective voice to create change in that area and to have a say in what comes in that area. So that is something else that you can look at doing as well. When it comes to developing, you do have your city and municipal and neighborhood agencies. And so having a friend within the organizations, a friend within the city commission who can tell you what's coming and where you should be and when you should show up is also very helpful. So hopefully that helps as well. If you're in, I want to say in Texas, there's several small projects in Texas. And so one of my partners in Texas, um, can't remember the name of her project. She's developing tiny homes. Her logo is on my website. So she's a consultant and an investor and a developer as well. And so that may be when you think about coming together. Yes, Cynthia. When you think about coming together, as a collective group to have a stronger voice, that may be something that you may think about as well. Yes, Cynthia Nevels. Thank you. Cynthia is amazing. And so initially she was very helpful as a person to just give insight and to troubleshoot my thoughts and my concepts and using some of the resources that she's already used as well. And so there is a community that can definitely kind of just help give insight. And so if you're familiar with Vestor, Vestor is specific to the hotel industry. And again, crowdfunding specifically for hotel owners. So that is another company as well. Okay, great. So Alexander, do you mind my saying we are on Facebook Live. So do you mind my saying the name of your company out for anybody who's interested in finding you?
Sure, that's fine. That's probably not the best way to find me, but yeah, the reason I mentioned that one is because it's Florida based. That's all.
Florida based?
This one is that one is. Yes.
Okay, Alexander Ventures Inc. is Florida based. And if you
Mhm.
want to mention the your other ones in Texas or nationwide, that's fine as well. Okay, and
Just
I'll look you
Google
up
me,
as well.
Detrick DeBurr. I'm easy to find, unfortunately.
Um, Detrick DeBurr. No, I don't think it's unfortunate. I'll be happy to find you. So thank you for being here today. And so if you have a specific question or kind of want to kind of hear some feedback on different approaches, I'm happy to address those. Okay, so for um, overall, developing those overall and incremental goals. And if you can tell me, where are you, at what stage are you in that did you say you were currently raising?
Oh,
You're always you're
you're
always
asking
raising.
me? Oh, yes. For that, yeah, we're physically, we are 65 days out. So we've been raising for about the last 2 years,
Oh, awesome.
for that.
See, yeah, so at least a year, 2 years definitely is right on target. So for your project, any particular insights or additional information or notes that you want to add to what we've already
Yeah,
discussed?
yes. When we've done our incremental um, real estate development pieces, it's been individual, what we call onesie twosies. Um, and we are looking at basically revitalizing a neighborhood. So we went to the city to talk about some land banking issues and what have you. And here's our issue. We can go and raise money like we traditionally do and do this just fine, but those investors are just there to make money. This project is a little bit different. So we're trying our best to include as many community partners, people that want to be there, and are looking at the neighborhood revitalization aspect of it, not just, can I turn, 18% on my money, people.
Yeah.
So we know how to raise the money to get it done. Our issue now is how much of that do we actually want to raise from what we call community partners, people who want to
Hmm.
be there and will be there for that matter. And so hence because many of these people are not all of these people, none of these people are accredited. So we have to look at the crowdfunding route to allow the principal down the street to get involved as opposed to who we normally go to. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that because that was also our challenge last year. There were so many people who were not accredited investors who just wanted to give and support. And so we are now on the platform Give Butter, which is a traditional nonprofit fundraising platform, but they also allow crowdfunding, and we can start at $100. What that's going to do is, again, it's going to mix up our raise. So we'll have some everyday community donors who just want to support and give, but and they're not looking for a return, but they want what I'm trying to work out is I want to give them some value. So is it um, giving them some sort of naming space in the building? For the low donors, it's these workshops, it's free education and awareness. If they come up to $1,000 and they're a team leader, they become perpetual members of the space. They can come and go and use the space as they please, as long as they block out time, just like everyone else. And then, of course, the investors who get the equity return. Now, our returns, we also realize, are not going to be very high returns, and um, that was because what was the challenge with that? Uh, the historic landmark designation, the comparative cost for the cost to redevelop the building versus the quick appreciation was the issue. They wanted a faster return, and we weren't able to project out a faster return. And so we couldn't commit to anything like that. We could only say, you know, that you will have the equity at this percent, but it won't, we can't say that it'll be a 3 to 5 year. It may be longer. And so mixing it up was a more comfortable space for us. And I think that sounds like that's where you are as well, but for different reasons, you just want to make sure that community stakeholders, that there's some community ownership around it. And that was my goal as well. Yeah, I appreciate that tremendously. Okay. And how's it coming along with the community founders? Have you found a way for them to get involved yet?
The short answer is no. We found a way to do it without them, and that's the problem, quite honestly. I don't think long term, it sounds great, but long term, 7 or 8 years from now, none of us will be there, and that was the problem 25 years ago. That's why it's in the situation it's in today. So
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's actually been a little bit of a struggle. Hence, the idea was let's look at some of these off what I'll call alternative fundraising routes, like crowdfunding and whatever, that will allow, like I said, just what I'll call Joe Q public to get engaged and get
Okay.
involved.
Okay. Yeah, the one we chose was Give Butter, but there's some other ones as well. There was one that was specific to impact investing, but they are no longer accepting new offers. I don't know if you know about that one, but if you want me to email it to you, I can email it to you. Okay.
Yeah,
So
we're looking at small change. That was the one that came up recently.
I think that's the one. Yeah, and
Oh, okay.
and
No
she's
longer
has
oh
has a hold on taking new, I think, yeah.
projects.
Mhm. Yeah, unfortunately, we were in the middle of talking and uh they decided that they wanted to hold off on taking new offers. So I'm looking forward to them coming back online as well. But she was yeah, in terms of impact investing, one of the few that were in that space of impact raises. Um, so the third thing is good on time is yeah, developing those overall incremental goals, milestones, and your giving mix that we were just talking about. So how do we accommodate as many different types of donors as possible, the individual donors, the major donors, the investors, um, all of them will make up the marketing mix, but they all have different interests. And so how do you accommodate all of them? You want to develop your, whatever the campaign length is that you go for. So say you feel as you've been raising for 2 years, if you've been raising, and you have the final stretch of $500,000, what are the milestones every month, every week? What are those incremental goals to make sure that you stay as close to that end state, that end target as possible? And so developing those and then choosing those team leaders who are going to lead those individual milestone pockets. So for example, if your pocket is every team leader, you have 50 team leaders. If each team leader raises um, $25,000, that's going to get you to your end game. So whatever that mix is, make sure that it's documented, noted, and everyone understands what their goal and what their commitment is. And when is that deadline to have those donations, those transactions in and confirmed. And when you're looking at these campaigns, when you look at that team lead structure, you also want to realize that, there is a cost to fundraising as well. So the budget has to consider if you have a community manager or community lead who's paid, who's responsible for managing all social media, all campaigns, all people, all projects, all strategies, is that a paid or volunteer role? Um, I'm realizing it cannot be me. So I have I have one virtual assistant I'm onboarding, trying to onboard two more so that we again make sure that this is consistent, that all the different offers and all the lanes are wide open, that there's immediate turnaround in terms of inquiries and conversations. So all of that has to be accounted for. And then there's these transaction fees that all of these platforms have. So ensuring that whatever your goal is, that when you back out the cost, you hit your target, is critically important to know what that number is. And then the last thing is breaking out that list of prospects. So in the university environment, we had our prospects, we had our key cultivation strategies, we had our top targets, we had our mid-sized targets, and then we had our general uh, you know uh, general leads that we really didn't know how to, what their investment potential could be, but we needed to research them. And again, there is a research component involved with all of this as well. And so breaking out those potential leads and giving them to the team members, the administrative team members, to do some research, to follow them, to look at where they've given before, is a strategy. It's very strategic, but it does pay off in work in the end because it helps you to understand how to save time and how to save energy on going after strong, viable targets versus lukewarm targets that may take a longer runway, but you know at the end you can convert them. And also which team lead to assign that person to cultivate. Cultivate is the thing that you want to do and remember to do with everybody. No one gets dropped off. And those leads and key donors, you want to assign them right in a potential fundraising number that you may be able to to generate from them. If you miss it, you know, have enough cushion in there to where another donor can cover it, but you want to at least build that out to where you know where the donations need to come from so that you can stay on top of this strategy consistently and regularly. And this has to match again with the fundraising levels and goals. Any questions on that? Okay, awesome. And so online giving, these are just different examples of the types of fundraising activities that are happening. Matching gifts, I didn't mention, but matching gifts are just bonuses when you have funds raised. So for example, if you have an organization that says, well, if you raise 10,000, we will match that 10,000, best thing ever. And so what could that look like for you? For the commercial real estate crowdfunding, potentially not so much, but I can see an individual donor absolutely saying that, well, if I raise this, then, you know, I want you all to match this from you know, my association or something like that they already have an affinity relationship with. Okay. All right, Detrick, any questions? Any remaining questions before I wrap it up?
No, I don't. Thank you very much for this.
Okay. When is the voting for the state house?
Oh, November. First Tuesday in November.
It's the 16th, so it's next week.
No,
Ours is the
no,
18th.
first Tuesday in November. First Tuesday in November.
Oh, you're talking about, oh, you all have already had your primaries.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant your primaries. Yeah, ours is next week.
Right. We had ours in March.
Oh, okay. That's early. Much success with that, for sure. Okay. So to wrap it up, this is our first webinar in the series. Moving forward, we wanted to stream this live on our YouTube page, but we had a glitch, so we're streaming it live on our Facebook page. In the future, we're going to try to make sure that we get the glitches out and stream on our YouTube page so that this information is accessible to as many people as possible. This is how we're giving back to this campaign. We ask that you visit us. Please consider donating to the new LaVilla, to this valuable redevelopment project. Share the information on the website at thenewlavilla.com. Learn about the story, the incredible history of the new LaVilla, and why this is so important to do now rather than later, and how this can be a great starting point to investing in more communities like Detrick's community. Detrick, what's the name of the community you're working in?
Our
Is
King
it
Oaks, yes, King Oaks Revitalization Association. That's the name of
King?
the, yeah, King Oaks Revitalization Association. It's actually based in Louisiana, actually.
Okay, in Louisiana.
Hmm.
King and then OATS?
I'm sorry, King, yeah, just like King, and then like an
Mm-hmm.
oak tree.
Oak Tree.
Oak,
Okay.
oak, oak.
And how can they find you?
DetrickDeBur.com, um, DeBurforTexas.com. All of those things lead directly to me. But as far as the King Oaks, well, I think we have links on there also for that.
Okay, DetrickDeburr.com. Okay,
That is
I'll be
correct.
sure to find you. And you can contact me at seeme@thenewlavilla.com. And our donation link is here on the page, and we'll be sharing that out all the time, every day that the campaign is live. We are also looking for team leaders. So if you're interested in hearing more, please email me at see me@the-new-LaVilla to get my scheduling link. Thank you all so very much. We're right at 8 o'clock. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Detrick, for joining me, and I will hopefully see you again soon.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you so much. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.